So next we move on to table of contents. This is the format of insights we'll be following today, answering questions like what and why ISI, format, preparation guidelines, study material, interview format, types of questions, Yugam's personal experience, and at last we'll be discussing the questions received through Google Form from the audience beforehand. So let's start there, Yugam.
Thank you, Ashok, for such a great welcome. And I hope everyone is good. So let's just start the session. So in the start, I want to start it with asking the question: how many of you don't even know what is ISI? Because I expect many of you are freshers. Let's just give me a raise of hand. Don't be embarrassed. Don't feel anything. Honestly, I didn't know much about it. Okay. Uh, I am expecting many of the freshers and even the second year students who don't know what is ISI. Even in my second year of my undergrad, I didn't know much about ISI. So I'll just start with what is ISI, some history about it, some facts about it. So as Ashok already mentioned, it was established in 1931. It was established by the father of Indian statistics, P.C. Mahalanobis, and now it is recognized as an institute of national importance by the Indian Parliament Act, which was amended in 1959 something. Okay, it directly works under Government of India and mostly, uh, and many few people know only few people know that in 1940s ISI was used as a model to be constructed a similar institute in US, and it was perhaps the first and the only time an institute in a developing country was used as a model to in a developing in a developed nation. And many of the famous statisticians, Indian statisticians, as well as some foreign statisticians, are associated with ISI. Um, you must have known about Professor C.R. Rao recently. He got recently because of his recent demise, and his contribution to the in the statistical world, and specifically to the statistical inference, and his famous Kramer Rao inequality and the Rao black hole theorem you must have heard. He uh, he founded that and he proposed that during his time to the in during his time in ISI. So ISI is a premier institute in India, and it is all of this about was ISI Kolkata, which is the headquarters, and there are many more centers: ISI Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, and today our focus should be on ISI Delhi because for MSTAT first year will be in ISI Delhi. ISI Delhi was founded in 1974. This is the golden jubilee year of ISI Delhi. It offers two master's program, MSQE, that is Masters in Quantitative Economics, and MSTAT. Because the next question that arises is after knowing what is ISI, why should one get into ISI? Why should we study in ISI? There are also other alternatives to study to pursue masters. IIT Bombay है, IIT Kanpur है. Also, DU also offers masters in statistics. So why ISI specifically? So I'll say in one line कि if you really want to connect to statistics at a deeper level, so ISI is the best place for you. It is considered as I said, it is considered as the premier and the one of the finest institutions in the field of statistics in India. You will have the most brilliant pool of students to network with, to collaborate with, to do projects, and even do research with them. For example, the topper of JAM MS 2023, year one of JAM MS 2023 is in my batch, and all the students are brilliant there. Many got scholarships for studying abroad. There is a girl in my class who got the British Council Women in STEM scholarship and was selected in a Russell group. University of Southampton. But she rejected that and she's studying in ISI to pursue MStat. Right? And another great thing about ISI, about pursuing MStat in ISI, is they are very flexible in their coursework. Their curriculum is very flexible. In second year, you have a choice of specialization tracks out of three, which specialization tracks, three specialization tracks out of which you have to decide one, uh, which are probability, theoretical statistics, applied statistics, and even in applied statistics, there are three subdivisions as well. And there is also a rule that if something new uh, is a new revelation in statistics are going on and some new topic has emerged, which should be included in the studies, then the teacher can also include that with the permission of the academic council and all. You can actually study what has recently been discovered, just 5, 6 years ago as well. Okay. What else are the benefits of studying at ISI? There's this great thing about ISI that ISI does not have any course fee. You don't have to pay them anything. They're just in the starting of getting admission, you have to pay a security deposit to confirm your seat, and after that, you don't have to pay any course fee. There is no course fee, and you'll even get a stipend for studying there. If your performance in the exam in the end semester exams are up to their criteria, which is I guess 45%, above 45%, above than average, then you will get a stipend of rupees 8,000 per month. Okay, or ISI is very reputed to pursue higher education in abroad. Like if you want to pursue PhD in Ivy or Russell Group, ISI going through ISI uh, ensures that your admission there is becomes smooth. The professors suggest you the universities. They have they recommend you to the professors there, and you can do your thesis under them. And now coming to the placement of ISI, uh, Ashok, can you please change it to the next slide?
Yeah, first we have the format, even.
Sorry,
First we have the format for the exam.
Acha, format. Okay. The placements. So I'll explain the placements. The placements in ISI are very well. You'll if you want to go to corporate, you'll obviously get placed. There are the placement stats are 100%. All the students who sit in the placements are get placed in the big banks. Most of the investment firms, JPMC, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, and so on. All of them come to the campus recruitment of ISI, and you'll obviously get placed if you want to. Most of the students uh, opt to pursue higher education because they really encourage you to pursue research in statistics and related domains. But the placement stats are really high. And, I gave you the element of that placement stats.
Yeah, just a second, I'll show that.
Maybe it's in the PPT. Just
Yeah, it is.
skip it to that slide.
It's visible, right?
Not in my screen. Is it visible to any other? Please confirm.
Khushi, is it visible? Lakshita, can you confirm? I think there's some network issue. Just a second.
Anyways, I was talking about the placement stats, and I think the data says the average and the median salary after the average and the median CTC after in the campus recruitments of ISI Kolkata are 28 LPA, and the highest is, I guess, 56 LPA. This is the data for 2022 to 2023, the previous batch. Uh, the placements are very good. You'll obviously get placed. Your career is basically settled if you want to go to corporate. And if you want to pursue research, then also it gives you a amazing kickstart. So, but it would not be wrong to say ISI offers the best education and the most amazing kickstart in statistics specifically, whether you want to go to corporate or pursue higher education at the cheapest price, no cost at all. Okay. The next question arises: how to get in? The question we all want to discuss today, the main topic of today, is how to get in ISI. So can you please change that to change the slide to that page?
Yeah, okay. Akanshi, can you confirm which slide is on the screen right now? I think there's some network issue from Teams itself. I'll screen share once again. I think there's some issue.
Hmm.
Is it visible now?
Now it is visible. So I was saying how to get in. So many of you know, many of you don't know. I'll just tell you about the process that is the MSAT entrance exam. And mostly all of the entrance exams at master's level in ISI are divided into three steps, uh, three stages. I would say. Stage one is an objective exam in MSAT. It is called PSA. Stage two is subjective exam. It is called PSB, and stage three is the interview round. And you get evaluated at each round. And if you meet the criteria they cut off, so you will move on to the next round, or you will get eliminated of the admission process. The PSA exam is objective, as I said, is of 120 marks. The duration is 2 hours. You have 30 questions, 4 marks each. Usually 15 hours of mathematics and 15 hours of statistics. And the marking scheme is there is no negative marking, but sort of similar approach. If you for unattempted each unattempted question you will get a plus 1 mark, and for each incorrect attempt you will get 0 marks. So I would say for that uh, attempting around 20 to 22 questions is good. Your aim should be 20 to 20 at least, about 20, and accuracy should be maximum, like 95% of. If you are attempting 22 questions or 24 questions, 20 of those should be correct. The cutoff is around 60. It varies from plus minus 5 or 60. But PSA is scoring, so you can get score as high as 90, 95. That is also achievable. So my suggestion would be 20, attempt 20 to 22 questions, and out of which uh, at most two or three of your questions should be incorrect. Uh, uh, every else question should be correct. And next is the PSB exam format. The PSB is also 120 marks. The duration is also 2 hours. So it is divided as you have three questions of maths and around 5 to 6 questions of statistics, out of which two of maths and four of statistics you have to attempt. Each questions carry 20 marks. These are subjective questions, so you have to explain all of your approach and write all the steps. And for that, my suggestion is even if you don't reach the final answer, uh, explain your approach, because you will be getting marks for that as well. If you cannot get to the final answer, but your approach is correct, you'll obviously get marks. And explain everything you are writing. If you are using some result, then mention the result. Not, you don't have to prove it in PSP, but mention the result, because they'll understand that you know what you are writing, not just doing anything. And then comes the interview round. I guess the cutoff for PSB the cutoff for PSA is around 60. The cutoff for PSB is somewhat higher than 60 out of 120. It is around 120. Out of 120, it is around 70. Let's say 70, 75 meters. Because the cutoff after each stage is cumulative. After the PSA exam, let's say the cutoff is uh, 60, and after the PSB exam, it is PSA plus twice of PSB. The cutoff is of the format: the score of your PSA plus twice of the score of your PSB out of 360. Should be at my time it was 160. It varies from 160 180 according to the difficulty level of the paper they designed that year. And PSB is of the most weightage in the final evaluation. PSA and and the interview round of 25% weightage, and the PSB is of 50% weightage. So it is 25 PSA, 50 PSB, and 25 of interview. That is the final criteria for evaluation. So next is how to prepare. The exam format is, I guess, clear to everybody. If you have any doubts, you can just put them in the chat box and we'll entertain them in the last. Next is how to prepare for ISI. So I would say preparing for ISI is not you have a specific like you prepare for your end semester exams. Your approach should be attitudes towards learning the subject, any subject, uh, like inference or say, should not be clearing your end semester exam only. Yeah, I know this question will come in my end semester exam. This is the type of question that are asked in DU or uh, any other university. If someone is from there, your approach should be attitudes towards that topic should be learning and understanding the concepts behind it. Because in ISI they only check your basic concepts. They check how clear are your most basic of the concepts, because people usually overlook them. So your most basics of the concept about a topic should be very clear. The questions are not that tricky. The questions are straight, but they test your basic concepts. Uh, Create an attitude towards connecting to the subject at a deeper level. Like if a teacher is using some result and they are not proving it or explaining the result because it is not required for the subject at your level, you should at later point review that result. See how come that result is true, why is that true, and follow the standard books, I would say. uh, Most of us are told that SMS is enough for undergrad, and it is enough. It is fair to say SMS is enough for your end semester exams in DU at least. But SMS is not enough for preparing for any competitive exam also. It is a great starting point, but it is not enough. Give me a second, please. I was saying that follow the standard books. I'll be giving the recommended books list after this. Uh, the PPTs, I guess. Now I'm coming to the recommended study material after this, not yet. And I think most of you are also preparing for JAM MS as well. So I would say preparing for JAM MS contributes to the major portion of preparing for the PSA, as PSA is also objective. The syllabus is somewhat different for the PSA and JAM. JAM contains the JAM. The syllabus for JAM is vast, and the syllabus for MStat includes some topics from your final year as well. And about that, don't wait for your teacher to teach that topic. For example, DO is in the syllabus of design of experiments is in the syllabus of MStat, ISI MStat entrance, and it is in the final semester of DU curriculum, DU UG BSc on a statistics curriculum. So uh, don't wait that when you will be in the sixth semester, then you will get to learn what design of experiment is. Read the book. If the topic you'll have the suggested readings in the syllabus. Um, so get a PDF of that book or go to the library, issue that book, and start reading that chapter. I, and not just that topic. I would say every topic, each of the book that I'm suggesting here, start reading that. Create a habit of reading that book, because if you are reading that book, most of the concepts that are hidden between the lines, some uh, some range of a parameter or anything that is hidden between that line, or some interrelation between two parameters or anything of that sort. If you are reading the book, you will get that, and note it down. Note it down in your notes. And also, while preparing for JAM, uh, you will be interested, and you are required, not just interested, you are required to get to the solution as fast as possible in the shortest route. And coaching also teaches that only, short tricks to reach to the end, and uh, finding the answer to an integral as fast as possible. But in for preparing for ISI, especially for PSP, you need to have the working. You should have the idea of how to get to the solution as in the shortest way, in the least time. But you should also have the idea of the working behind it. If you are asked to explain this, then how do you explain this? What is the fine correct approach behind this? Not just the answer, also the correct approach. Because in objective exam, many times we use eliminating the wrong incorrect answer. We have four options. We try to we don't know what is the correct one. But we try to eliminate what are the wrong ones. And many times this approach works for objective exam, but this won't work in interview or the subjective exam. I think these tips are enough for how to prepare for the exam. And if I'll get any other point in between, I will mention that. So next is the recommended study material. You can see on the screen the recommended books I have mentioned. Uh, I've used these shortened names for the books, the author name. For linear algebra, Gilbert Strang. It is a great book. I would say start reading it. It will give you an understanding of matrices and determinants of higher dimension, and you won't be confused or scared while solving problems with matrices which are of higher dimensions, n cross p, n cross n, and vector spaces and bases and everything about linear algebra. There are also so Gilbert Slang is a professor from MIT, and there is a YouTube channel MIT Open Coursera. Many of you also have heard about this. So there are also video lectures of him, but these are very old, of spring 2005, I guess. So video lectures of him teaching at MIT. So you can also refer that for a topic if you find it hard to understand from reading a book. Like for me, reading the course book helped me so much. I can't even tell you how much it helped me reading the book. It will give you all the information that a tutor is teaching. Also, additional information that he might have forgotten or thought that this is not important, and it is a possibility that you get a question from that uh, small line or small phrase from that. And I mentioned for regression analysis, Montgomery and Sieber and Lee. These are two books. Montgomery is enough for the simple linear regression part. For regression analysis, there are two. Basically, the course syllabus is basically restricted to simple linear regression and the introduction of multiple linear regression, the linear model. So you don't have to go to the deep of linear model, just the basic full rank setup, actually, full rank setup, and Montgomery and Sieber are enough. And for analysis, there is Barton Sherbert, you must have, it is a suggested book in DU as well. Terence Tao, it is also a great book. Esquimapa, these books are all great books. So you should study in detail the limit and continuity, sequences, and differentiability, all these topics. In for inference, FMS, FMS have every topic. Most of the statistical topics. For inference, Casella Burger. This the book name is Statistical Inference by Casella Burger, and you will get the theory behind statistical inference. All of the theory is in this book. So this book is enough for the theory behind statistical inference, the sufficiency principle, completeness, minimal sufficiency, unbiasedness, and the theorems related to it. Right. For multivariate analysis, the multivariate analysis is also not that deep in the, not that advanced level, I would say, is asked in MSAT entrance. So TW Anderson and Tanuji Chakraborty notes I have mentioned. So many of you must know about Tanuji Chakraborty. He's a professor at right now, I guess, IAC Bangalore, or I'm not sure about that, but he has a website, ctanuji.org, something that sort, and he has all of his course notes available, open source course notes. So you can obviously refer those. They are good quality notes. So they are always helpful. For DOE FAS, Fundamentals of Applied Statistics and Sandeep Sir's notes, and combinatorics, PNC, what would say, but we say PNC. So PNC is a topic which is not directly asked. You won't have a question just based on PNC, but you will have a question in probability or something. Probability which will require the use of PNC. So I at least I didn't prepare PNC from a book or like complete PNC all the topics from it. I refer to this playlist from an academy J. It is of 12th level, but J advanced level of class 12. And for probability theory, Sheldon Ross is a great book, right? So we can move from the at the end. You all will be getting a drive link which will have all these books and the link for the video playlist. Okay, I have accumulated all the books in PDF format. So let's come to the interview section. Uh, this is the, people consider this as the hardest section of this entrance exam. The interview is purely technical, so you don't have to worry about your communication skills or how about, your spoken English or whatever, your personality, or they don't judge you on that. Language is not a barrier for you if you think, but it is, I would say, suggested to explain your thoughts in English, because most of the professors from there are from have their origins from Bengal, and they're not very well versed with Hindi or any other language. So I would say language is still not a barrier, but it will be better if you are able to explain your thoughts in English. Already mentioned it. It carries only 25% weightage, so you don't have to worry that much about the uh, interview. And I think you will get around 30 to 45 days between your PSA and PSB exam, which are held on the same day. I didn't mention that before. PSA and PSB exam are held on the same day. So first it's PSA, and after a break, you will get a break of around 30 minutes to 1 hour, and after that, your PSB exam, 2 hours each. So post that day, you'll have around 30 to 45 days to prepare for your interview. And if your concepts are clear, if you have prepared well for PSB exam, interview will not be that much. Preparing for interview, 30 to 45 days are good. And there is no hard and fast rule. I was also finding that at my time, there is no hard and fast rule about this, about your attire on the interview day. But I would say a formal attire will be better. What is the harm in that? It will only create a good expression, good first expression, impression in front of the panel. The panel consists of around 5 to 6 professors. Some of them from our ISI Delhi only. Some of them are from ISI Kolkata. You don't know them anyway, so it doesn't matter. But there are 5 to 6 people, at least at my time. My seniors told me in their interview there were only 4, and even in some of them there were 3 professors in the panel. But at my time there were 6 professors in the panel, and it is not something to be worried about. You They only ask questions one by one, and it is not necessary that all of them will ask you a question. And for interview, I would say you should have the general idea of all the topics that are in the syllabus, but you should prepare in detail 2 topics from statistics and 2 topics from mathematics, because sometimes, many times, they ask you what topic you would like to be asked from. They give you the choice. In my time, they didn't give me the choice, but usually they do. So you should have a general idea, because it is not uh, it is not mandatory that they will give you a choice. But because they usually do, prepare 2 topics in detail, 2 from stats and 2 from maths, because they will test both. They will test your statistics and mathematics as well. And the questions they ask, their favorite topics, I would say, the favorite topics they ask from, and all of my seniors suggested me to prepare these topics only. Is inference, complete inference, point estimation, confidence interval, sufficiency principle, all of the theory behind this, hypothesis testing, most powerful test, likelihood resource test, all of that, and regression analysis. Simple linear regression, multiple linear regression, just an introduction, and the model adequacy checking, the problem of multicollinearity, all of that. And from mathematics, algebra and analysis. These are the 2 topics. are usually asked for. And it would be better if you prepare those topics in detail. And uh, I'll explain you the setup that they have in interview. So you'll enter a classroom, and you'll have there will be a chair near the chalkboard, and the teachers will be sitting in the normal chairs scattered in the classroom. The teachers will be sitting in the chairs scattered in the randomly in the classroom normally, and you that the chair near the chalkboard is for you. You have to sit there, and whenever they ask you a question, um, if it is not a direct question to answer, most of the questions are something we'll have to derive something or work on something. So you have to do that on the board. So I'll explain you in my experience the type of the questions that were asked to me. So what I want to say is that whenever you are deriving and coming to a solution, deriving writing your approach and coming to the solution, don't just uh, keep writing on the board. Simultaneously, interact with the teachers, explain whatever you are writing. Don't let the conversation break in while you are writing, because you lose their attention if you are doing so. Because and there are also plus point if you are interacting with them. Because if you are do something wrong, or do a calculation error or anything, so they'll drop you hint or they'll correct you. Even. They are very helping in getting you to the answer. They'll always drop hints, and they'll even help you to solve the calculations, advanced calculation if there are, but usually there are not. And most of people have this doubt as well. There is an interview. Uh, where does the interview happen? It happens at the. It is conducted at the Delhi center. Even if you are from any other state, you'll have to come to the Delhi center for the interview. You'll be given in advance your date and time of reporting for the interview, and they also offer for some people. I think they also offer a stay for a night. Matlab if you apply for it. Give me a minute, please. Hmm. Sorry. So I was talking about the interview, and this is all about the interview. So now coming to my experience. At my time, my PSC and PSB exam were held on the 14th of May. Uh, it was a Sunday, and also to mention on that, usually your PSC and PSB exam, the written parts of the exam, will be held in between your or near about your end semester exams. Mine were in between my sixth semester exam. So you have to clearly sort your priorities about that, because it is not the level of exam is not anywhere near to the level of exam is at your college is not near to the level of this competitive exam. So you will have. I'm not saying just completely ignore your end semester exam or any exam, but be prepared for it in advance so that in the last days you can dedicate to the written part of the exam. So don't count on the last days that you'll leave this topic now and you'll do it in the last days, because those days will be preoccupied by your end semester college exams. And my interview was on 22nd of June. Sorry, the written part was in May and the interview was in June. So my reporting time was 2, and I went in advance. I did 1:30, and So they do interviews parallelly in 2 rooms, 2 or 3 rooms. At my time, it was two. So uh, my number was second in the queue. And the usual duration of an interview is 40 to 45 minutes. So you can expect your interview to go as much long as an hour if they want, but usually it is 40 to 45 minutes. So the time of my interview was 2, but I was called at 2:45. And when I went there, I sat. They asked me my name and whether I completed my bachelor's or not, and from which college or not. And then they just started. It's not like they build. होता ना कि they waste much time in conversation with you. They just start with the interview. I was asked to first write the PMF of Poisson distribution, and they are very particular about these small things. That if I'm writing the PMF of Poisson distribution, I mention the range of the x variable, the domain of x variable, and the domain of the parameter that lambda, the values it can take. That it for Poisson distribution it should be positive, and x can take values from 0, 1, 2 up till infinity and all. And after that, I wrote the PNF, and then I was asked to give an estimator for e raised to power minus lambda. And I took a moment, thought about it, that I am asked to give an estimator, not any other property about an estimator. So I simply derived the uh, MLE of lambda, which is x bar, and during variance property, I wrote e to the power minus x bar to be an estimator for e to the power minus lambda using invariance property. So it was correct. And then they told me that it is not an unbiased. They asked me, not told me, they asked me, is it an unbiased estimator? I said, no, it is not an unbiased estimator. Then they said, give me an estimator which is unbiased for e to the power minus lambda. Basically, I was asked to derive an unbiased estimator for e to the power minus lambda. And from MLE, it was not possible to derive an unbiased estimator. Then, so the approach that has to be followed and which I followed was first you have to create an indicator variable. Uh, Indicator variable that takes value 1 if x is equal to 0 and 0 if x takes any other value. And using that approach, the expected value of that indicator variable will be e to the power minus lambda. And using that approach, that estimator will be unbiased for e to the power minus lambda. And while explaining my approach and deriving the unbiased estimator, I mentioned Rao-Blackwell theorem. Um, if you know what is Rao-Blackwell theorem, it is a theorem used that is used to find an a more efficient estimator from a given estimator. So and the process is called Blackwellization. So the professor asked me to Blackwellize this estimator and find a better estimator than this. And because I knew the theorem, I did it easily. And in this derivation and all, it took me this question. This was considered as one question, and this took me around 25 to 30, 25 minutes. This took the 25 minutes of my interview. And after that, they asked me a question from mathematics. So they asked that you know real analysis. So I said, yeah, I'm prepared for it. So they asked me, what is give me a function that is defined everywhere, but discontinuous at a single point. And many people will be thinking, what can be this? This is an easy question, and I asked my friends also this question after post the interview, and all of them answered this 1 by x. I also answered this 1 by x. and it is an easy guess, but which is not correct. So they asked me, "Are you sure 1 by x is discontinuous at a single point?" I said yes. They said, "Is it defined everywhere?" I I took a moment and I realized that it is not defined everywhere. The domain for the function 1 by x is R minus the set 0, singleton 0. So then they asked me to modify this function in such a way that this will be defined everywhere uh, and discontinuous at a single point. But I got confused at that time, so I told them, "Okay, I'm not sure what to do for this, but I can give you another function which will be defined everywhere, but discontinuous at a single point, which is any simple function like x equals fx equals plus 1 if x is greater than equal to 0, 0 or minus 1 if fx is equal to less than 0, any value. So this function jumps at a single point. Then they asked me to define a function, give me a function that is continuous everywhere, defined everywhere and continuous everywhere except endpoints, which is from 1 to n, and arbitrary points. So thought of it about as the cumulative function that we define for a CDS that we define for a discrete random variable. So for discrete uniform 0, n, that was correct for me. And after that, they asked me, give me a question, give me a function that is uh, continuous at every rational number and discontinuous at every irrational number. And I was confused. I was not sure about it, but again the approach was simple. Give x takes some value a if x belongs to the set of rational numbers q, and takes some value b if x belongs to the complement of that, or otherwise. Uh, so that was enough for that answer was also correct. And these are all the questions that I was asked in my interview. It took me 40 my interview was 40 minutes, and they said that you can go now. That was all about my experience of my interview, and I think I've mentioned everything that is in need that needed to be mentioned. Uh, we can now come to FAQs.
Yeah, so before starting the FAQs, uh, we received over 120 plus questions. Okay, so we can't really cover all of them, but all most of them were the same, mostly the same. So what we did is we saturated them and formed 7 questions to answer all of the other ones too. Okay, so here's the first question, Yugam. The first question was how to prepare for both IIT JAM and ISI entrance exams simultaneously and parallelly. This was the most sought after question of the students.
This is usually the question of everyone who wants to
Yeah.
pursue masters in statistics, because JAM and ISI are the top institutes. IIT Bombay, IIT Kanpur, or ISI are the top institutes that anyone wants to go. The great thing about this is that JAM is conducted in Feb, and ISI in MStat is conducted in May. So it's not like both the exams are conducted in same month, same week, or even same month. So you
We
have
get a buffer period for studying,
हाँ,
right? Revision.
you get a fair amount of time to revise or to change your approach of study for JAM entrance to ISI entrance. I would say while preparing at this time, if you are preparing, you should prepare for the PSA. Uh, like preparing for JAM is equal to preparing for PSA. So while you are preparing for JAM, PSA is almost covered. Your accuracy is built, your speed is built. You just have to cover the additional topics. that are there. And but as I mentioned earlier, also while preparing for jam as well, when you are given a short trick or a result, because usually for jam they don't give you proofs or anything. They just tell you the theorem as the result. They don't even if you are uh, taking any coaching, so they'll not tell you the name of the. Usually they don't even tell you the name of the theorem because that is irrelevant for preparing for jam. You just need to know the result. That what does the theorem do? How can it help me in reaching the solution?
Yeah.
But if you are preparing for ISI, you should uh, later on or not immediately and make sure that you get back to the result and study how there is the result. How they are true. Is it a certain, if it is a clear what is the important understanding part of the paper, uh, you can be asked to prove the theorem that you used in PSP. They also do this in interview, not in my time, but usually they do. In some cases they do. They have your PSP solution with you in your interview, so they can also ask you that if you use some result in the PSP exam, so they can ask you, can you prove this the result you used, or can you explain your approach here, or if it's like I said, there are 9 questions out of which 6 you have to attempt, two of maths and four of stats. So they can even ask you the unattempted question. You should also uh, clear prepare for your PSB exam questions. They can ask you that as well. So coming back to the question that how to prepare for IIT and ISI simultaneously, that I think that do the short tricks, learn the results, but also get back to the theorems, get back to the theorems, get back to the proofs of those. Clear your concepts as well. Jam is
Basically,
mostly
in-depth study is required for the ISI
getting.
exam.
Uh, I said connect to the concepts, connect to the subject at a deeper level. Build your concepts, not just know the application of the concept of the topic. I think that
Okay,
will
so
answer this question.
yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. What is the optimal duration to adequately prepare for these exams? These exams, basically ISI.
IIT, ISI. I think 1 year is like I started preparing in June, June 2022. So it worked for me, and usually most of the coachings for jam also starts 1 year before the exam. Like in Feb they start a new batch or session. So I think 1 year is good for preparing for these exams, given that you give 2 to 3 hours every day.
Consistency, basically. Consistency is the
You
main.
have to have the consistency. It's not just the I I usually divide the time of to study for an exam, not just not in days or not on the scale of days or months or that. I divide it on the scale of study hours that are required. And I would say 1500 hours or 1500 hours that are good. So that will be for 360 days, 365 days, after which you will be studying for 320, 350, 320 to 350 days. So 3 4 hours a day. That is good, and that is up to you if you are in your first year or if you are in your second year. So you should start preparing right now because it will only give you an extra edge over the other students. You have extra time to understand the topic, get into the depth of that topic. You will have extra time to be stuck at a question, stuck at a proof. But usually, whenever we are studying, we get stuck at a question, and if the exams are very close, we can't just be at that question. We just have to leave it and hope that this question doesn't come in the exam. So if you have started preparing now, you will get more time to give at each topic. You will have more time to revise each topic. And I would highly suggest to make two different notebooks, one just for notes and one for practice for all the rough work you do. It should also have notes. It's up to you, but I would suggest you keep a separate notebook for your notes. Just the concepts, no questions, just the concepts. If some exception, some relationship between two distributions, every 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 knowledge concise to the smallest form possible. Because for the time of interview, you'll have to go through, in a sense, to the entire syllabus in a month, and you won't have that much time to study everything in detail, to study the book. You have that time your note will be most helpful.
Even at that
So
time, we have the added pressure
I
of
think,
exam or semester exams too.
sorry, Ashok, your voice was
I'm
not so
saying
clear
that
to me.
at that time in 1 month, we also have the added pressure of Delhi University examinations.
Yeah, because my exams were, I said my PSA and PSP were on 14th of May. So one of my sixth semester exam was on the design of experiment exam was on 12th of May, and the other were post 14. So you will have to give some of your time to your end semester exam as well, because you also need to score well in that.
Okay, so
It's not like
I hope
you can give your back paper in the final semester.
so let's move on to the next question. I hope everyone answers. Which books and study material to follow and best coaching centers to join? Although we have already explained the study material, the best coaching. Yugam.
Best coaching, it is hard to say because I joined an academy for Jam, but I didn't join any coaching for specific to the format of ISI. And I think the entrance exam of ISI test needs you to self study. I don't think the basic concepts and the in-depth knowledge you can you can get from a coaching or even your undergraduate course. And I don't know. I'm not great and dedicated to ISI uh, exam format. You must have heard about Chinta, but I have not tried their. I don't know about their teaching method or style. You can obviously take their demo class because it is for ISI.
So the coaching which
And
helps you
but
solve your doubts, I guess.
the coaching helps you clear your doubts. But I think if you can, your seniors are there, your teachers are there. So if you are genuinely passionate about clearing that specific doubt, you'll uh, you'll get to the answer to that. Uh, I had many doubts at my time. I texted my seniors who are in IT and all, or my friends. Uh, I even asked my teachers. They are helping. They never. If you just have to get to them at the right time. You can't just ask a question that is out of the syllabus from your teacher between the class. You'll have to put the extra effort. You'll have to wait for them to be free in the staff room, and you'll get the answer.
Okay. So let's move on to the next question. Are there any drawbacks for a math honors student to pursue MStat? This is also the most sought after question which we got in the Google Forms. Most people want to know this. Even in the chat section, we got one.
Drawbacks, like for entrance exam, I would say you'll have to put extra efforts in your statistics portion. But a great thing about MStat entrance is uh, maths and stats are equally divided. Like in PSA also, 15 questions for at least 15 questions are of maths.
Just a
They
second,
require
James. Not to interrupt you, but the question doesn't revolve around the format of the paper. The person mainly wants to ask कि वो MStats कर पाएगा या नहीं, if they are from a math
acha,
honors.
acha, they get in MStat and
Yeah, if they get into
pursue.
MStats,
ठीक है,
yeah.
ठीक है. Then I would say it will be better for you to some extent. It will be easier for you. Like I'm in my first semester, so my subjects are analysis, linear models, which is both of these are maths. In the probability theory subject also, one unit is completely measure theory, and stats students don't study measure theory in their bachelors, but I think math students do. So it's not like you will have any drawbacks if you pursue if you are from maths background. Many of the students are from maths background. I think uh, four, 4, 5 of the students in my class are from maths background. Either they did B maths from ISI only, or one of them is from DU as well. So there are no drawbacks to that specifically. You have to pay some extra focus on the statistical topics that are होता ना, completely related to statistics, like regression analysis. But there is no drawback. If you have होता ना, if you have to pay extra focus in some subject, then you will have an edge over the students in some other subject.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. The next question is, should all the theorems and proofs need to be learned for ISI MStat exam?
It is better to होता ना कि understand the proofs, not not just cram them. It will be better if you will understand them, because you can be asked. I would say directly, you can be asked in your interview. It is not required for your PSC and PhD. You need to know the result. You need to know the theorem that you are using in PSB exam. It will be better if you mention the theorem that you are using, not the statement. If it is well named, then you can use the name.
Yeah.
And but you can be asked to use to prove the theorem that that you used. That the chances of proving the theorem need to prove in the theorem that you used in your PSB exam will be higher, or that is some theorems that are very standard, as I mentioned, Raw Blackwell theorem or name and factorization theorem in inference. So it will be better if you understand the proofs of them. You have an understanding that you can explain how to what is the logic behind this theorem, not the exact proof.
So next question is, should we focus more on revision or practice sets? And what would be the last 4 months strategy?
Revision practice set, I would say कि, if you are preparing for jam, you must be preparing for practicing questions, all the past year questions from jam and gate and ISI, PSA are also available. So you should have a mix of that. It's not just होता ना कि either revision or practice set. You should be balanced in that. Na? If you're because you should also know the types of questions that are asked. You should also have the speed to clear the PS exam. Now, if you are not, if you don't meet the criteria for the PSA exam, your PSB exam, even though it is conducted on the same day, won't be checked. They won't even check your PSB exam if you don't meet the criteria of your PSA exam. So you are eliminated at that level only. So practice is also important. Revision, like as I mentioned, there will be 30 to 45 days between your PSB, PSA, PSB, and your interview round. So 30 to 45 days are enough for revision. At that time, you don't need to practice questions. You need to practice the types of questions that are asked usually, but that time will be majorly focused on the revision of all the topics and preparing the topic that you will be choosing for your interview. And the last 4 months strategy. In the last 4 months, like, 1 month, 1 month will be for your jam because it will be January, Jan and mid of Feb will be for a jam. So we'll be preparing for a jam only. So I would say the topics that are not covered in jam, like the topics that are usually in the third year of your curriculum, focus more on them at, at those months that are post jam, because you also want to score good at jam, secure a rank, secure your seat. At that time, focusing होता ना, studying redundantly on the topics that are not in jam will होता ना कि can hamper your result for jam. So after post your jam exam, you should study focus more on those topics, because all the other topics you have already covered. And I think yeah, that's it.
Okay.
What else can be the strategy? Increase your working study hours. It is the होता ना final assault for your exam and all. These are all general tips. You all know that. You can YouTube any video, you will get that.
Yeah, the cliche motivation videos
हाँ,
of
किसी
YouTube.
motivation video.
Deep Maheshwari.
हाँ,
Okay, so what tips to keep in mind during the interview? This is also a very sought
hmm,
after question.
good question. Tips, stay calm. First of all, stay calm. They don't होता ना कि they are not very judgmental. You think that I was very scared that how am I looking, or how what will I say, how will I greet them, what will be the icebreaker and all. होता ना, keep your mind decluttered, I would say. होता ना, post interview I was thinking कि यार मैं तो बेकार ही इतना सोच रहा था, इतना होता ना, over hyped, over worried. There is no need about that, because uh, for math honor students specifically also I was talking to my friend, my classmate was in who did his bachelor's in math. So he said I asked him for questions. What were the questions that you were asked in the interview? He said because stats is not my strong suit, so they asked me questions more from mathematics background. So they are होता ना कि they are helping in that sense. If you say that you have prepared this topic, then and they ask you that what topic you have prepared, then they will ask you from that topic only,
They want
unless
one
until
to excel point.
they want you to perform well. Uh, so be calm. Language is not a barrier, or teachers are helping, और किसी से भी मतलब होता ना कि don't argue. If they are saying something, if they are correcting you, wait for them to complete. And if you have a counterpoint, also mention that. मतलब there is it is not wrong to perform होता ना कि give you a counterpoint or give another approach. It is fair only, but होता ना, do it in a polite way. They should not get offended in any sense.
Okay, so let's move on. So we have a doubt. Basically, anyone, if you have any doubts, you can mention them in the chat section. Okay, so we have got one from Genetica from LSR. She wants to ask how many days do we have between the written exam and the interview? The approximate.
I told you 30 to 45 days. My written exam around 14th of May, and the interview was scheduled on 22nd of June.
Okay,
The
so
interviews are spread like it takes around 3 days to complete all the interviews, and you are given your date and reporting time well before the interview. I guess 10 a week to 10 days before your interview.
and how many days prior are we informed about the interview?
10 days I said, na? Uh, more than a week,
Okay, we have
because
another
you will
question.
have to arrange your visit to Delhi for from.
Accommodations and stuff.
हाँ.
We have another question from Alina, although I guess you have already answered this. She's asking, should we focus on understanding theory or on question practice more? We have
uh,
already answered.
हाँ, मतलब theory, you should be clear of the theory, and I would say if your theory is clear na, uh, that solving a question won't be that hard for you. uh, if your मतलब if your concepts are very clear, then solving any particular question requires just one more step that is specific to that very question. That and that step you will develop you will develop the understanding of that specific step over the question while practicing. Rest all of that is rest everything is concepts and the calculations, basic calculations.
Okay, so we have another question from Anisha Das. Can you suggest any test series for ISI entrance and the JAM exam?
Test series, I didn't encounter any test series. I usually solve the past year exams, and it is a great question, and there must be some test series, but I didn't encounter, so uh, I can't suggest you about that. I'll look into it, and if I get some information about it, I'll post it on my LinkedIn page, so you can follow up to that.
We'll share
Right now,
Yugam
I don't.
Jain page in the group. You guys can follow him.
Uh,
We have another question
mhm.
from Anmol Gupta. Any YouTube sessions where PYQs are discussed in really well way, like with different approaches and different methods?
There is no not a single YouTube page where all the PYQs are discussed. The Chinta website, Chinta Statistics Coaching website, that is this is open to all, not just the students who have opt for their coaching. You can they have the solutions for the past year questions. So some of them are just a drive link to the written solution, and some of them are YouTube videos. So you can always refer those if you are stuck at a particular question. They are they have the answer for most of the questions, not all, but most of the questions. And rest questions you can ask your seniors or ask your teachers, and they are not available on a single YouTube channel that is completely dedicated to solving PYQs for ISI and stat.
Okay, so we have another question from Genetica. Should we solve all the problems from the books we learn or refer? This is also a question from me too. I've also wanted to ask you this.
Should we
Should we
can
solve
you,
all the problems from the books we learn or refer? मतलब हमें वो क्वेश्चंस करने चाहिए बेसिकली जो हम बुक्स में पढ़ रहे होते हैं या
नहीं
फिर
नहीं
हमें कहीं
नहीं
और से भी रेफर करना चाहिए.
like if you are trying to complete all the questions, solve all the questions, it will take so much more time. You don't have that much time, obviously. So मतलब solve मतलब होता ना कि read the question, and if you think that this is easy and you can होता ना कि you have the understanding how to solve it, then you can skip it, obviously, and focus on the questions that are more मतलब होता ना कि that challenge you, because if you are uh, trying to solve all the questions in uh, in a particular book, because for every topic I have suggested some other a different book. There is no single book that we uh, that contains all the topics. So I don't think you can manage that to complete in time. Also, there is Professor Tanujit has also compiled a book, an e-book, which is just a practice set of questions. The level of questions are somewhat uh, trickier uh, than in MSAT, because I referred that book. The questions were more uh, not direct, because in MSAT the questions are direct, straightforward questions. There is no hidden knowledge or hidden thing. It is direct. So you can refer that book, and if but keep in mind, if you are not able to solve the question, the solutions are there. If you are not able to solve the question, don't lose hope. Don't feel negative because the questions are tricky. I was also not able to solve many of the questions, and uh, high school mathematics is also asked in ISI. For that, tomato, if you've heard about the book Tomato, it is prepared. It is good. You can refer that. मतलब होता है ना, you don't have to complete the book and solve all the questions, but होता है ना कि try to solve the questions of होता है ना every type, one two questions of every type.
Okay, so anyone else have any questions? Otherwise, we'll be ending with the session of today's. Okay, so I hope we don't have any other questions. So, as we bring our interactive session to a close, I want to express my sincere gratitude to each and every one of you for enthusiastic participation and unwavering dedication to stay till the last. Your insightful questions and your commitment to learning have been instrumental in making this session a resounding success. The main just uh, let me complete my end note, then we'll stay in that. Okay.
We'll get back to your question.
We'll get back to you. We're not ending the meeting right now, then, if you have questions. Uh, I also want to take a moment of acknowledgement to the hard work put in by the organizers, the whole team, and the invaluable support provided by our esteemed professors who have made the session and the contribution of our alumnus truly exceptional. Uh, as a part as we part ways, let us remember that the pursuit of knowledge is an endless journey. Keep up the excellent work, Yugam, and you will come to realize that nothing is beyond your reach. We certainly are very proud of you as our alumnus. Thank you for your active participation, and I extend my best wishes to all of you for your academic pursuits. Okay,
Thank you
so
so much for these wise words.
if you have doubts, you can stay back. No, the meeting is still going on. Okay, so Yugam, the
Uh,
question by the name is how is ISI for pure mathematics?
pure for pure mathematics. मतलब if you are interested in pure mathematics, I think you should join in math. They also offer master's level program in mathematics as well, and mathematics. It is similar to statistics, more focused on mathematics. So you should refer that for pure mathematics.
There is another question from Shivam Mishra. Which book you had followed for stats at your preparation time? Shouldn't we have already answered this question? The books we will
The
be
books
sending you
I
the whole.
the books
Sorry,
I mentioned are the books that I followed. You can always refer to any other book that you like, but these are the books that I followed during my preparation time.
we'll be sending you the books. We'll be
Ah,
making a drive link and we'll be mailing you the same. Like you don't have to worry about that. Do we have any other questions? Can we get recording of this program also? Yeah, you'll get the recording. Don't worry about it. We have recording the whole session. Okay, so I think we have sufficiently answered. You can have already answered all the questions everyone had. Okay, apart from core team and cabinet, everyone else can leave.
and even if you have any other questions that you needed to ask or you couldn't ask, you can DM me on LinkedIn. I'll
We'll
be
be
more than
sharing his
happy to help.
LinkedIn too.
Uh, will be sharing my LinkedIn ID, so you can ask me on LinkedIn as well.